Welcome to In the House Media. I'm Yanina Carter with The Beat. And the beat that I'm talking about is this big event that's taking place in Philadelphia, Valray Productions 30th anniversary celebration. And with me today, I have Val Ray, the mastermind behind this whole event. I have Norman Connors. Everyone knows him from the hits that he's produced, as well as stars that he's produced. And we also have Sherry Wilson Butler, who's a triple threat, is what I call her. She's an educator, performer, and recording artist. Welcome to In the House Media, you guys.
Thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. And Val, we want to start off with you. 30-year anniversary. Tell me, how did you get started?
Well, that's how did I get started? Well, let's see. I started when I was pretty young. I had my first true production when I was in the sixth grade, and I had and I had got all these children in the kindergarten to come to my basement and do a Christmas show for the neighborhood.
Oh,
So
so
that was my first show. And then you remember the aluminum trees? I had the aluminum tree light. That was my stage light, the one that
okay.
rotates. And
Mhm.
then I had curtains where my sheets were my curtains in the basement, and I
Okay.
told all the parents to bring all of their children, and I gave them I written out all the Christmas songs, and they had a great show, and that was my first production in the sixth grade.
That
But
is so
now, thinking
cute.
in terms of today, my
Yes.
first production was with Norman Connors. I just thought I'd
Okay.
share that one.
Is that 30 years ago? Your first production was with Norman Connors?
Yeah, Norman Connors was my first production. It was at the Township Inn, and
Okay.
it was maybe it could have been even more, but I don't think it was. Norman, do you think it was any longer than that? Norman,
Norman.
Norman,
It was Lisa.
can you hear me, Norman?
Can you hear?
Just motion to
Can
him. He
you?
must hear you.
I hear you. Can you hear me?
I hear you, Norman. I just wanted to know if you
Can
thought
you hear me?
that my first. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I. But anyway,
Yes.
Norman's fine. Yeah, it's a
Okay.
little bit
Yes.
delayed.
It sounds like it's delayed.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so what I was telling them, Norman, that you were my first production 30 years ago. And remember that show, Norman?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I
So
do.
anyway, it was that 30 years ago at the Township Inn in Sharon Hill,
Right.
Pennsylvania. And it was such a great, great
I
show.
remember.
Norman tore a hole in the man's drums.
Oh, no, you didn't, Norman.
So, but it
You
was a
tore a
great
hole
show.
in the man's
Yes,
drums.
I did.
He was playing.
Yeah.
He was playing those drums like
I
he
had
was
it.
monster.
You said you had it like that? Okay. So wait a minute. So 30 years ago now, we're actually having your big 30th anniversary coming
I
up
had it like
on
that.
June
You know,
3rd.
about when I was
Yes, I'm having my big anniversary at the Philadelphia/Pennsylvania Convention Center, located here in Philadelphia at 12th and Arch Street. They have a. I had done a show there with Gloria Lynn 15 years ago, and it was a lecture hall at that time, but they renamed it the Michael Nutter Theater, and so I decided to take it back there because there was a lot of memories when I did the show for with Gloria Lynn. And it was such a great show that I wanted to take it back there with Norman Connors being honored,
Okay.
and some great featured artists.
And you're also honoring Sherry Butter.
Okay, and yes, absolutely. I'm honoring Sherry Wilson Butler that
Mhm.
same day because she's very special to me, as well as she's an educator of the arts, and she just gives and gives of herself. She's really like a Duracell rabbit. She just
Duracell battery keeps
that
going and
yeah
going.
the rabbit, the battery, whatever you want to call it, but she just keeps on ticking and ticking and ticking. I don't even know how we slowed her down to sit still. I don't know what you did, Yanina, to get her to sit still. I don't know
I
what you did.
know, I know. I just kept calling her. Well, I'm a fan of both of you and several jazz artists, period, here in Philadelphia. If it wasn't for you, Val, I wouldn't even know any of them. So I want to thank you for that because you've
Okay,
been doing this for 30 years,
I've been
bringing
doing it.
different artists to the stage and events like the one you're having now.
Exactly, because I mean, some of the names that I have done were, people like Bootsy Barnes and Gloria Lynn. Uh, um, oh God, start. What is my gem? Oh my God, Billy Paul.
Billy
Billy
Paul, right,
Paul.
right, right,
Yeah,
right.
Billy Paul. He's done a number of shows for me, and he was one of my great, great, great people that kind of took care of me. Norman Connors, he's been around, and he's just been just like a Duracell battery. He just never stops either.
Okay, both of them non-stopping.
Nope,
Sherry,
no.
let me ask you something. And I'm going to go back to you, Val.
Hmm.
You're being honored. I don't know if you were aware that Val Ray submitted a bio to WDAS for the Women of Excellence Award.
I found out on the last interview you did, but I
Yes,
did.
and I think it is so good that we feel that you're a woman of excellence, regardless of what happened with that. You're being honored at this event because you are a woman of excellence.
And
Val Ray, thanks to Val Ray for bringing that out.
Well, you know what? I'm wondering though. Am I allowed to say that on stage? That
What?
is a woman of excellence, or is
Yes.
that going to be? Am I going to get in trouble?
No, you won't get in trouble. But
You
what
do
did you have?
that she can, can't she? Because they didn't choose me, and she doesn't want to make them whatever sound like any other kind of way. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't think. Yeah, don't do that, man.
Don't say WDAS, but just say she's our woman of excellence.
Exactly. That's what I
Okay?
want to say.
Still give her credit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's right. Thank you. I know there's a way to get around it.
Yes.
Thank you.
But how do you feel about that, Sherry? You see how much she thinks about you?
I'm floored. And really, the last time when you first told me, it brought tears to my eyes because I've known Val for a long time. And she's right. She's always trying to catch me. My family calls me the James Brown because I ain't never home. I'm always wanting to do a gig. When I did the interview with Teddy Pendergrass, that's what the backup girl said. Oh, Sherry going to find a gig. She going to find a gig. And that's what I've been doing since I was 14. So I don't know anything else.
I know.
Teaching and singing. And I knew I wanted to be a teacher at 5. I knew I wanted to be a singer at 9. Because I was Val. And Val said she used to give shows. I was taking kids in the neighborhood on picnics in the park and tell them, don't y'all tell nobody. I would call my mother's name. I could write my mother's name. And you know how they used to have the milkman and the bread man? And you
right.
Well, they would have a bill. So if you go to the corner of the grocery store, they have a bill for you. Well, I knew how to forge my mother's name. So I would get bread and lunch meat and chocolate milk and package up stuff and I wouldn't take them on a picnic. And my mother went to the store and she's like, I'm coming to pay my bill. And she says, it was $5. No, Miss Wilson, it is $28. And she said, no, it's not. And they said, Sherry came down to the store. And I didn't think about it. I just thought I'm going to take the kids on a picnic. And they loved it.
Oh, always been nurturing those young folks, huh?
Yes. And then
the educator, the performer. Okay, you've also performed throughout the world.
Yeah. But my first gig was at the corner church.
Are you serious?
In the corner, they was in there, and I was going past. I think I was like 7 or 8. I was like 7 or 8, and I heard, "Oh Lord, have mercy." And I went on in there, and they said, "Where you going, little girl?" I said, "I want to sing with them." And they said, "You can't just come in and sing." And I said, "I don't know why not." So they said, "Put the little girl in," and I started singing with them. And then they took me back home to my mother's house and said, "She can sing, she can sing."
That is great.
I started singing. I had to sing when I got 13 or 14 because my father wasn't having it. But I would sneak down to what is this place in Atlantic City?
The different casinos out
there? In Bone area or something?
Bone Beach and
Club Harlem?
Club Harlem, and there was another one across from Club Harlem. I don't remember the name of it. But anyway, I was with Pinky Roberts and the Go-Go Rebellion with my pink boots on.
Nice.
My father called down. It was a Wonder Garden. My father called down there and he said, you got a girl down there named Sherry Wilson. And they said, yeah, she's on stage with Pinky Roberts. He said, I'm going to have your club closed down if she get on that stage. So he sent my mother down there to come take me back to Philly. And she came and I cried all the way back home. And I went back down there the next week and I got in trouble till I was at least like 16 or 17. I had a road manager by the time I was 15.
God bless you.
I was sneaking in the Paradise Club at 16th and Fitzwater because they had something called Show-A-Rama, Show for the Stars.
Wow.
My father would say, whenever I would say, Daddy, I'm gonna do something. You ain't gonna go upstairs and read a book. I done read so many books up in the room. I just threw the book on the bed and I was reading Show-A-Rama, Show for the Stars. I said, that's where I need to go. So I went and I would sneak down there, and then we had a road manager named Mr. George Turner, and they had shows down there, 16th and Fitzwater.
Wow.
So
And your performance and your skills have taken you all over. United States, Europe, performing.
Yeah, the Caribbean islands, Switzerland, all over. And I was listening to Val talk about Billy Paul. Billy Paul was my first real big gig as a backup singer. I worked with Billy for 2 years, and then I wanted to go back to school, so I went back to college. And then I think I was in my second or third year of college, and they were trying to tell me, "Oh, this guy just left Harold Melvin in the Blue Notes. You should try to." I said, "I don't want to be. I was on the road already. I'm trying to finish going to school." So they were like, "Well, just go down there. Just go there." So about 2 weeks, Sam Reed said, "Sherry, I ain't gonna call you no more." He said, "Go down there. They're doing auditions for this guy named Teddy Pendergrass. He just left Harold Melvin. You might get the gig." I went down there. The girls got their boobs out and their butts hanging out, and I got on a pair of raggedy cut off jeans and a street t-shirt. My hair was crazy. I had no lipstick on. And I asked Alfie Powell. I said, "Well, you know Betcha by Golly Wow in D flat?" He said, "No, just go on over there. Just go on, just sing. I'll play it for you." He started banging on the piano, talking about he can't find it, and I was like, "Don't." He just doing this. I said, "Don't play nothing. I'll sing it a cappella." And I sung it a cappella, went over and shook Teddy's hand and said, "See y'all, have a great night." And they called me that next morning and said, "Teddy."
All right now.
That is great. Did you hear that, Norman?
That's what I remember.
Bet You by Golly Wow. You sing one of your songs.
That's Norman Connors.
Mr. Connors for eons, because when I saw him, I was with Billy one first time I saw him in the back, because Phyllis Hyman was on the gig, and I don't know what he was helping her or whatever, but he was on backstage and Phyllis Hyman was on stage, and I was just mesmerized. I just couldn't even take my eyes off it. He don't know me from a can of paint, but I was staring at him and staring at Phyllis Hyman because I thought both of them were amazing.
And Norman, let's talk to you a little bit. You lived down the street from Bill Cosby. Is that true?
Wow.
Norm?
Yeah, 4 doors away. 4 doors.
4 doors down.
4 doors away.
4 doors away. Okay. So what was it like growing up? And who was your inspiration to get into the music business? What was it like growing up? And
Davis.
Miles Davis was the one? Okay.
Miles
and
Davis.
You
Lee Morgan. Lee Morgan too.
Okay. They were
Lee
instrumental.
Morgan.
They were instrumental. You were your inspiration.
You might have a delay.
Miles Davis. Lee Morgan. Duke.
We hear you, Norman.
Duke
Yeah.
Ellington.
It's a delay. Okay.
Okay. Now you have also you have been in the music business since you were young. You played with some great folks. Who were some of the folks you played with?
Yeah.
John Coltrane.
When I was in Philadelphia, I played with Billy Paul. John Coltrane is 16.
Wow.
6 years old.
Wow.
Wow.
Can you hear me?
So you
16. Billy Paul, 15 years old.
wow.
Billy Paul,
So you got
15 years old.
We hear you. I know you got a lot of them because I want you to keep naming them, Norman. Keep naming them.
I know.
Standard. 16 years
And you
old.
also
McCoy
discovered. He's naming them. Okay. McCoy Turner.
Gene Carn.
Wow.
Gene
Yeah.
Carn.
These are folks that you've also made
Phyllis Hyman.
famous. Phyllis Hyman is who you created.
Yes.
You
Norma
helped
Brown.
start. Marion Meadows.
Gene Carn.
Wow.
Darryl Saunders.
Marion Meadows. Gene Carn.
Michael Henderson. Michael Henderson.
Harold Senn,
Yeah.
Michael
You've discovered
Henderson.
a lot of folks.
Angela Bofield.
Yes.
I didn't know
yes.
that.
That's right.
I've seen all of them performed. Didn't
Yeah.
know you were the man behind them.
He's still naming them.
I know, Sherry.
Yeah, I think she's 15 or
So
16.
Val, okay, let's go back to Val. Val, the event is taking place on the 3rd. The event is taking place on the 3rd. You're honoring
Yes.
Norman Connors, you're honoring Sherry Butler, and you're having a feature artist, which is Melissa Morgan.
Melissa Morgan, you know, Miss Do Me Baby, that one, and Fool's Paradise. I love that song. Fool's
Okay.
Paradise is my dance. I love to dance, so that's why I got Melissa Morgan, because I feel like partying. And Love Changes is one of my favorites of hers, and oh my, Do You Still Love Me as another one of my favorites. You know, so she had a back like good for me. You know, and she's got a new CD out.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know this, but Norman Connors is in the studio. He has a new album coming out as well.
Oh, cool. Norman's got a new. Norman,
Yes.
you have a new CD coming out?
Yes. He just told me about it.
It's a
It's
delay.
called royalty. Royalty.
It's called what?
It's called royalty.
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 Oh. And who are you going to make a star?
Royalty.
Who are you working with on this album?
Miss Marvin King.
Okay.
Marvin King. People Bryson.
Okay. Okay.
Bobby Lau.
I
Howard
gotta write
Hewitt.
down some notes.
Howard Hewitt?
Mm.
Glenn Jones.
How
Gene
long did it
Carn.
take you to Gene Carn too? Okay. How long did it take you to put this album together?
Yes.
How long did it take you to put the album together?
9 years. 8 years.
Whoa.
8 years in the making. Okay. God
Wow.
bless you. We're looking forward to this. Right now? Right, Sherry?
I'm looking forward to you. You got some really great folks that's going to be on that show. I mean, on that album. You know,
I want to mention that one of the people here in Philadelphia that Norman
Yeah.
took under his wing was Starlene Bay. And she
Okay.
came out with the Starlene Experience. And one of the songs that she sang, I've been to, everybody's shows, was Friends by Phyllis Hyman. I was like, you sure that wasn't Phyllis Hyman?
Oh, that was nice.
I know. It was very, very nice. So Norman is the mastermind behind a lot of people who people didn't know. Like we didn't know. I didn't know that Angela Bofield was one of them.
I didn't know.
Oh, yeah. I remember
I didn't know
Angela
that.
Bofield. Definitely Angela.
Now, I'm sorry, Val, I want to go back to what else can we expect? One of the things
Well, let me just run it all down.
Well, one of
you.
the things that I loved about you when I first got involved, when you were actually did a fundraiser for the Bobby Carter Foundation, because Val does a lot of things besides just music. She does toy drives, and she's giving toys to kids at the People Emergency Center and some other locations. I can't remember.
Yeah, some of the shelters, lots of shelters, the homeless.
So when I found out about the different jazz artists that had diabetes, we came up with a thing called Jazzing for Diabetes. And we honored all the jazz artists who had diabetes. Well, Val put together an event, and it was the Songstress of Sisterhood, and some of the proceeds went to the Bobby Carter Foundation. Let me tell you guys, this show consisted of a number of different artists representing different legends, and that's what we can expect. A little bit of that at this event.
Yes. Because what you're going to be experiencing is a few of the combined sense of shows and productions that I've done in the past or over the past 30 years. One of them, my baby, is Songstresses Celebrating Sisterhood. But I also did something called the Knights, KNIGHTS, the Knights of the Queen, that would be me, the Queen's Crooners. And I had some really good folks on that stage, which was with the men. And so, that's my next venture to do that again. I did that show at the Philadelphia Art Museum, and it was so successful. And I did it at the Clef Club, the Philadelphia Clef Club, and it was very successful. So, so I'm combining R&B, jazz, blues, and gospel all on one stage. So, and just to name a few, like for instance, George V. Johnson. George is from out of Washington, and he's going to be playing tribute to Hank Mobley because he's always writing. He's a lyricist, so he takes words and put them to the instrumental. Kind of like one of the girls that was in my songstress celebrating sisterhood, Carol Harris. Carol Harris was really good at doing that. You know, I used to call her my bebop queen. But you have Michelle Beckham. She's paying homage to Nancy Wilson and Phyllis Hyman. We have Tangeray Hayward. She's going to be paying homage to like Gladys Knight. We have Lauren Lark, who's I had a show called The Three Scatketeers. That was Carol Harris, Lauren Lark, and Michelle Beckham. And they were I just love people who can scat. And and so they scat so well that I put them on a stage at the La Rose, right on Germantown Avenue here in Philadelphia. And it was called The Three Scatketeers. And she's paying homage to Ella Fitzgerald. Mary Cross, she's going to be paying homage to Phyllis Hyman and Nancy Wilson, along with Michelle Beckham, who's going to be doing the same thing, Nancy Wilson and Phyllis Hyman, but mainly paying homage to Norman Connors because Norman Connors did that remake of Bet You by Golly Wow. And he did that with Phyllis Hyman. And I'm like, okay, we're going to make sure that we do that.
So we got a Phyllis Hyman too, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And then there's a gentleman that Norman recommended that he kept trying to say, Val, you got to get him. You got to get him. Well, he and I went out last night or the night before, and we were supposed to go out tonight to a place called Shaking Crabs here in Philadelphia because I was selling him. Like when I take and go out with some of my vocalists, I try to sell them. So I said, you want to go out and play?
All you do is laugh, Sherry.
I don't want to use the word that I would normally use, I'm not going to use the pimp word. I'll pimp them that.
Oh my God.
So they get on the stage and they make me look so good. And so Norman, you were right. Sim Streeter is excellent. I called Norman the other night after I came in from hanging out with him. And I said, Norman, you always creating stars. I said, you have got to make this boy a star because he's really good. He's really good. And so, well, who else I have? I have my cousin.
Wait a minute. I got a question. Is Sherry going to be performing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wait a minute. Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, I know we're honoring her, but Sherry Butler's got to do Nina Simone.
I thought so.
She's going to do Nina Simone. Sherry Butler can do anybody. I didn't really know that before. Back when I was doing the managing of all that jazz, I didn't know what to call Sherry Butler. I didn't know if to say she's a jazz singer or R&B singer. God, she is so. I decided that it's a vocal stylist. She's not a jazz singer. She's not an R&B singer. She's not a gospel. She's a vocal stylist. She'll take anybody's song and it becomes Sherry Butler's song. There's nothing that she won't do with a song. And that's what made me just kind of like listen to her sing Nina Simone and listen to her sing anybody. It's just Sherry Butler.
Val, are you going to take the stage?
I'm going to take the stage. I'm going to do a little Nina also. I might even give a little snippet. I love Nina Simone and I love Billie Holiday. So yes, I'm going to do a little bit of snippet of doing Billie Holiday. I have Brenda Smith. She's coming in from Atlanta, and she's going to be paying homage to Roberta Flack. At one time she was one of my jazz singers. I can't remember the lady's name. God rest her soul, but she just reminded me. So all these vocalists kind of remind me of certain people, and it's not like they're trying to; they just happen to sound like them to me. Teray is partially my host. He'll be hosting, and he's a comedian.
Teray, yeah.
So he's going to be doing a little bit of some things. And my sister, it's a family affair. My sister, who's an artist, she writes and she dances, and so she'll be performing. She has a book out called "The Softest Side of Her Is Her." So we're going to be talking about that when we get do the show, and then we have Katrina Drawn. She's going to be opening the show with "Giving God the Glory." So we got a nice lineup on here, So
sounds like it.
Yeah, I feel like
What you say, Tim? How long is this show? About 10
That's what I
hours.
was just getting ready to mention. I thought that I could put all of that in 2.5 hours, and it really is getting me scared because, well, not because of the group, because I got the place until midnight, but I just wanted to. I don't want my folks to get too hungry, because I was giving them a nice buffet after the show.
I
And
didn't know that. You
They
can
Well,
need
I'm
the
gonna have a
buffet.
little
They
bit.
need the buffet in there before the show so they can
They
digest.
need to eat before. They better. I think I'm gonna make sure everybody better eat before the show because they're gonna be hungry before.
Yeah,
Normally, when I
think
had
so
it at the
too.
Clef Club, I had food, but you
Mhm.
can't do anything at the convention center. I mean, the convention center. I thank you, convention center, but you don't get nothing free. They don't give you anything. Maybe Norman might be able to know somebody because I'm having some real issues right now. But we'll see how that turns out. But other than that, though, it's going to be a great show. I'm going to try to get it. I'm going to get it all in, and
Yeah.
then we're going to go out and have a good time and meet and
Absolutely.
greet Norman Connors, take some pictures with them. Have Melissa Morgan's going to come out there and take some pictures and sign some autographs. Sherry Butler and all of the people that might be able to, attend. They're going to come to my after party. I can't say where
That's
that's
a
going to
private
be.
affair, though, right?
It's a private affair,
Mhm.
and those people that do have those tickets, they will know that night, because I can't have everyone at this particular location because it's not large enough,
Well, Val,
But
I'm not finished with the interview, but can you tell us if people want to get tickets, where can they go?
absolutely, the tickets are online under valrayproductions.ticketleap.com. valrayproductions.ticketleap.com. If you have any problem doing that, please, the main thing is the phone number 267-979-3940. Once again, 267-979-3940 is the number you can call to get any information, the locations where you can get tickets. We do have tickets being sold throughout the city, so they need to know exactly where those places are and the times and all that.
Okay.
Like
Now,
for instance, Lawton Associates, who is one of my sponsors,
very
they'll
good.
be selling them up there at 7212 Ogans Avenue. Barbers Hall has tickets, so there are tickets throughout the city. I just gotta make sure that they have them in hand when the people come out.
So we're only 2 weeks away. 2
2
weeks away.
weeks. Oh, that's so scary. My stomach is flipping. Don't remind me.
I think you'll be fine. But
I hope.
one of the things that you spoke about was as far as both Sherry and Norman have in common is the fact that they help people in this music industry.
Absolutely. Yes.
Sherry, you as an educator, you're out there teaching, and I know you're dealing with lyrics. And with the lyrics that we hear today, I wonder what it's like working with young folks in that area. And Norman, with you, how do you, these are my questions going out to you guys. How do you come up and find those people like Mr. Streeter? What's his name, right?
Sim Streeter.
Right. I mean, what are the qualities that you look for when you find someone like that, or Phyllis Hyman, or Marion Meadows, who's a saxophonist? Norman?
I think there's a delay.
They find me as much as I find them. They find me.
Okay.
As much as I find them. I find them, they find me too.
Okay. But something's got to stand out to make you select them over a Yanina Carter who thinks she can sing.
There's so many singers all around the world and around the country. I can't get many.
Okay.
Around the world. Many.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's right. There's a young man at the Clef Club, and I wanted to try to get him to Val, but I couldn't. His name is Nathaniel Barlow. He's 14 years old. He sounds like a little Lou Rawls. I wish you could hear him.
All the people.
I'm sorry. He said, "What's his name?"
Nathaniel Barlow. I would love for you to hear him. he went to a show, and I think he went to see Jill Scott, and she
Okay.
was so impressed. And then he went to see Layla Hathaway, and I don't know how he gets backstage, but he did. And Layla Hathaway told him the same thing. Keep moving. She said, "Keep moving." She would like to have him on a show or something of hers. And I took him to a show that I did for the Luther Vandross. They had a Luther Vandross Foundation.
Yes.
And I did that, and I brought him on the show. Let me tell you, he tore the house down.
Well, you got to bring him to my show. I don't care how long it is. I mean, you just got to bring him and his mother. If it has to be, bring his mother. I give them both, because you talked about that guy too much. And I forgot about him.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know.
What's the name again? I need to remember it.
Nathaniel Barlow.
Barlow.
14 years old.
Ooh.
14 sounding like Lou Rawls.
I wish you hear him. And got
Oh
stage.
my God.
And he already has stage charisma. Already. I set the show up. I opened the show up, and so I set it up for him. And I said, when you go out there and you talk to those people, you better go on and talk. He went out there. So how y'all doing? Anybody out here? Y'all doing pretty good? I was like, he the microphone went all out in the audience. They gave him a standing ovation.
All right.
Wow.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm saying. As an educator of the arts and so forth, look at what you're already looking at doing. What you're doing here.
I love it. I love it when I see the young people and I see them wanting it. Those who really want it. I mean, I got some fifth graders. I don't know what they're doing, but that's another story. But those who want it, you gotta help them. You gotta put them out there. You gotta try to figure out how you can get them in the nook so that they can do. They got to carry it. We can't live forever.
That's right. And Norman, this one's for you, baby. You got to get this book, because if Sherry Butler, it's like you saying to me about Sim Streeter. If Sherry Butler, I value her opinion as much as I value your opinion. So if you have an opportunity to help that 14-year-old boy become heard by a host of people, you need to listen to him. So that's why I want to bring him on that stage so you can hear him, because I'm excited already about it. Just the thought of it.
Val would love him. Val would be hugging them and picking them up, trying to pick them up.
At least I can say he's on my stage before Norman makes him a star.
But Sherry, how hard is it working with young folks in this industry who are trying to make something of themselves, especially when you're talking about writing lyrics? Because lyrics is a major thing right now.
It's always been. People just didn't understand that it is a huge part of being in the music industry. And it actually makes more money than performing on stage. But to answer your question, if they want to be in the entertainment world, you got to just continue to tell them to keep striving. There are some who really do want it. When I go into the school systems, unfortunately, they're not indoctrinated with the music from grade school or their parents' home. So they're not getting it. I have second graders and I have fifth graders this year. My fifth graders walk around. They don't want to hear. I know everything. I don't know. My second graders, I'm catching them early. So they know now about breathing, rhythm, tempos, and beats. They know now about melodies and harmonies, who some of the history makers of some of the genres, and they're writing a song. I got them to write a song so that they can write. And so I said, what do I know? I said, you're going to inspire the world. I want you to write 2 lines about inspiring other people in the world. My fifth graders, they know how to do that. If I read you some of the work that my second graders did, you'd be like, what? But that's because they sat there, and when I put them in those groups and worked together to come up with it. So I'm going to take them in the studio in 2 weeks. I'm going to take them in the studio. I'm going to put their song together. All of the 4 groups that I have, I'm going to put that information together, and then I'm going to take them in, because they already found their melodies and their beats this week. So we're going in the studio.
Excellent. I love it. Look at her. She's loving it too, Val. Look at her.
Sure is.
That's our future. That's our future. Those kids, I mean, we just can't rock this forever. I'm trying to hang in here as long as I can. But, they got to come after us. And Val has been one of my inspirations, because I knew that she would get other artists who hadn't been known in the Philadelphia area. And next thing I know, they got highlights going on every which way, because she didn't put them on a show.
Oh,
that's what
thank
it's all
you.
about. She's getting them from a certain area. I'm getting them from the school age. You gotta, Mr. Connors, he getting them probably from every level.
Right.
So about giving back and making sure that we keep our stuff alive because they steal a lot of stuff from us as African Americans.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh
right.
yeah. Oh yeah.
We don't groom
That's
our
right.
babies. Our babies got to get theirs because now you got a country now with all this infiltration of other cultures coming in heavily. Everybody's taking their own stage. Don't forget about us because guess what? It would be no music in the United States of America if it was not for African Americans. From
right
jazz,
now.
the blues, the gospel, we did it all.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I tell my children when I go to classroom. Don't think you're going to come around to this class and not know that this is your music. This is your music. Don't be letting people take it because if you look it up on the internet or anyway, they will say that this is music from the United States of America. Some of them mention African Americans, but a lot of them don't. And
That's right. They don't.
Everything from us. From
Well,
Elvis.
you know, I was just reading something in the Metro. The Metro was having the best of Philly.
Okay.
They didn't have any African American radio stations, newspapers, or anything in there.
Are you serious?
I'm actually getting ready to do something on it. I'm going to write an article about it.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, you're overlooking us totally?
Yeah.
Totally. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And you see how they're trying to take the books out of the library, anything that mentions us.
Yeah.
Trying to
It's
take
sad.
the school system. No,
It's
you're
very
not.
sad. It's very sad.
Yeah, it really is. But Norman, before we can wind this down, I just wanted to ask you. I saw you on Unsung.
Oh,
And
so did I.
I saw him on Unsung, and even then, I knew that Norman, had come to my home, and we broke bread together, and we were friends for years and years and years. But I didn't know Norman Connors. I didn't know Norman Connors. I knew Norman was a guy that played the drums and Phyllis Hyde, but there's a whole lot of history. But one of the things that Norman had me laughing about was the scarf that he wears around his neck.
Uh-huh.
Norman, you need to tell these folks about that scarf around your neck. Where'd you get that? What that whole
That's trademark.
concept? Huh?
This is trademark, isn't it?
That's your trademark because of who?
Trademark.
You just gonna leave it at that?
That's one of my trademarks. Got it from Miles Davis.
All right now.
Okay.
He got it from Miles Davis.
Wow.
He told me that.
Was that your mentor? That was a mentor, right?
That was like a mentor to you? He said Miles Davis
A
was
mentor.
influenced.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, I
Miles
want to
Davis.
thank
And Max Roach. And Max Roach.
And Max Roach.
Max
Max Roach.
Right.
All right. I remember that. I did get a chance to meet Max Roach too. Thank you. I feel like I've arrived when I meet people
Abby
like that.
Lincoln. Remember her?
Yes.
No.
Abby
You too,
Lincoln.
Chevy. Okay.
Cheryl said, yeah, she remembers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to close this out. It has been a pleasure, and I want to thank you guys all for joining in on this conversation. I'm looking so forward to the 30th anniversary celebration of Valray Productions.
Yes, and I want to give that number one more time
You can do
before we
just
go.
that.
And if you want any tickets or information, please, folks, tune in call 267-979-3940. 267-979-3940.
And that's June 3rd. And we'll be
June 3rd.
honoring Norman Connors and Sherry Wilson Butler with
Absolutely.
featured artists Melissa Morgan and a host of other local jazz
That's
and
right.
R&B artists, because it's not just jazz, it's
That's
all
right.
music.
Everything.
That's right. And that's why I did it that way, because a lot of people say the word jazz and then they say, oh, I don't like jazz.
Right.
But they don't know what jazz really is. For me, my favorite are singers, and a lot of people can only identify with singers. Some of them identify with saxophone. Some of them identify, then they want to with the avant-garde or what's the space cadets? What's the one that used to go up in space and never come back?
I don't know either.
What's
Sherry.
the name? What's the
Space
name of the
Cadets.
group? What's the name of the group? What is it, Norman? The group that always had the
Funkadelics?
not Collins. No, they really wasn't going anywhere, but they really see. Oh my God, I can't believe I can't remember the name.
Sunrise.
Yes, Sunrise. Sunrise.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sunrise.
Sunrise. They were.
Okay.
Then you hear them, some people would get scared of music like that, you
Yeah.
know. And so I'm not one of those, you know, the Sunrise fans and all that stuff. But I try to get these young folks to understand that that's just not all jazz.
That's
There's
right.
jazz, all types of jazz,
Right.
of jazz music, you know.
And that's what
you
they're
know,
going to experience on June 3rd. All types
June
of
3rd
music.
is all types of music and different styles of jazz for me, in the Val Ray opinion. That's all. I can only go by what I think. You know, Norman Collins might have a whole nother way of looking at it. You know, he's Pharoah Sanders, you know, and
Looks like you're having fun here.
You sound like Judge Judy now. My word is what counts.
But Joe, that's right. It's only my word that counts.
Oh, thank you, Val. Thank you,
All right.
Sherry, and thank you, Norman.
Thank
And
you.
we will definitely be looking forward to June 3rd, the 30th anniversary of Val Ray Productions.
We got
All right, dear. Thank you for having us, dear.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah.